Glad to hear Capricorn rising. It's Cosmic Girl 101 talking astrology for February. Trust you're doing well. I'm going to be talking about the planets in transit, lunations. There's a full moon this month, new moon this month. We have Mars stationing to go direct. We have February. We have Jupiter stationing to go direct. We have Venus ingressing into a different zodiac sign. That's a big deal. We have Mercury changing zodiac signs. That's a big deal. And of course, your ruling planet Saturn is still in the third house. And for the Capricorn rising signs, there's a lot of planetary activity in your third house. Now, it's sextiles your first house. So I think for some Capricorn risings, they might be really motoring with all this activity in the third house, but fluctuating in the energy levels more so, I would say, with your mental landscapes, lots of ups and down fluctuations, lots of thought processes going on because of the stellium. So you have the North Node in Pisces, your third house. You have Neptune, Saturn, your ruling planet there. Mercury will be ingressing into that zodiac sign as well, Pisces, in this month. Venus will be leaving the zodiac sign of Pisces this month, but she will be returning, and that is a longer story for the planet Venus. And also Mercury will retrograde and come back into your third place as well. So for Capricorn risings, it's all about the third house. This is where the concentration is really directed towards you. So concentrating on your third house, especially knowing your own planets in your natal chart. If you have any planets in your third house, these transits could be activating that natal planet. And that's like the natal promise being almost energized. So knowing your own natal planets in Pisces, your third house, would be significant for you, Capricorn rising. Are those planets squaring other planets in your natal chart, like the oppositions, squares, etc.? Big stuff, because it's that third house focus, like laser point focus on that third house for you. And that's a big deal. You need to know, as a Capricorn rising, when you're listening to your astrology, where's my focus? What is my rising sign really up to? And your rising sign is your body. It's your identity. It's how people see you. It's your sense of self. And then you concentrate on the third house. And this is a long-winded introduction, but these are how astrologers provide an astrological forecast reading for you. This is how astrologers get to the meat and bones of the planets in transits in your natal chart to give you a well-rounded, holistic, spiritual, astrological, archetypal, planetary explanation of what your rising sign is going through. What are you up to? Where are you engaged? So that first house ruling you, how people see you, your sense of self, was in the third house. Community. It's your immediate environment. It's short distance traveling. It's education and teaching. It's communication. It is your extended family members, siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles. The third house is modes of transport, how we utilize modes of transport, like cars. Technology is a form of transport. We can transport our word, our thoughts, communication through technology, by internet, emails, phone calls. You get the picture. So that's where you are. Your ruling planet is in the third house. This is a big deal. And you've got all those other planets in Pisces as well. The sun will also be stepping into Pisces this month, and to end the month, we have a new moon in Pisces. That is super focused on your third house. So those third house subjects, topics, and themes are important for a Capricorn rising at this time. This part of the journey, this is where you're super engaged. And the third house is quite mental. There's a lot going on with communication, our thought processes, how we bounce off others in our community with ideas and concepts and ideologies about Piscean topics. Your third house is Pisces. Pisces is literally the collective mind, the collective people. Pisces is a zodiac sign that is about compassion, sacrifice. It's a very giving, empathetic zodiac sign. And Pisces is also connected to the lesser savory parts of human nature that we learn from through self-medication, through drugs, alcohol, escapism, where people lose themselves. I'm not suggesting Capricorn risings are losing themselves, but in the third house, where your ruling planet Saturn has been transiting for quite some time and will continue to do so for quite some time, it's a possibility, Capricorn rising, you may be losing yourself in community. Now, that could be negative or positive, depends what side of the fence you sit on. Pisces is a spiritually connected zodiac sign. It's the ethereal dimensions through spiritual practices, our beliefs, what we believe in. This is where we get into religion, spirituality, esotericism. Pisces is all about that. Take me out of reality, art, craft, music, dance, expression. And what we mull over in our minds in the third house, where your ruling planet is, it is the potential to turn water into wine, or your words and your thoughts and your speech, be it through teaching, art, dance, learning, through education. How can you bring that out into a tangible form, your thoughts, your ideas, and make something a reality? So that is a house that you are focused on. These topics and themes will be very much part of the Capricorn rising's experience at the moment. And this stellium, which is 3 or more planets in one zodiac sign, it's not taking the archetypal explanation of what a planet means out of the equation. When we're talking about a stellium in a zodiac sign, we're talking about the topics and subjects and themes of that zodiac sign being more significant. And as this month unfolds with the planets in transits, your third house is going to get, if for better words, congested, more concentrated. And we're going to talk about what that means for you in this video moving forward. Okay, Capricorn rising, let's get into your astrology. Recapping where the transpersonal planets are for you, we have Pluto transiting in Aquarius. That's your second house, and your ruling planet Saturn is the planet that rules the zodiac sign of Aquarius as well. So Aquarius is almost like your sister sign as a Capricorn rising. In short, you understand Aquarius very well, which is the community, people at large. You might be very good at connecting with many people and socializing with many. You might have that social skill and you don't understand that. That's because of the Aquarius part of you. So Pluto's transiting in Aquarius in his second house. Now, this is a 20-year transit. I have spoken about this in the past, but if you want to go deeper into what that means for you, please reach out to me and I can help if possible. Pluto transiting in Aquarius, your second house for 20 years. So that's where Pluto is. Neptune's transiting in Pisces. We talked about that. Neptune in Pisces transit, your third house. And Uranus is transiting in Taurus in your fifth house. That sextiles your third house. So that's quite good with Uranus sextiling your fifth house, where where all this activity is. So Uranus in your fifth is helpful. And that is a longer transit as well. So that's where the transpersonal planets are, opening up February. Your ruling planet Saturn's in the third house, yes, and we have Jupiter in its detriment zodiac sign of Gemini retrograde, and that's in your sixth house of work, health, services, labor, sickness, pets. That's the sixth house. It's where we do a lot of selfless labor, like we're in service to others. And Jupiter in detriment here is a difficult place for Jupiter. In Gemini, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is about the finer details. Jupiter is about the bigger picture. Not that Jupiter glosses over details, but Jupiter has a more abundant, optimistic point of view about things, any subjects and topics, whilst Mercury will be more of the Debbie Downer in the room. Well, how does that work? Whereas Jupiter's go, it just works. And Mercury goes, yeah, but how? So Mercury's like the heckler, the heckler in the crowd. How? Why? Tell me this. Tell me that. That's Mercury. But Jupiter's in Mercury's zodiac sign of Gemini, in detriment in retrograde, opening up the month. And it does go direct this month, but that's how your February is opening up. So, in short, before Jupiter goes direct, what have you been reconstructing, trying to structure in your sixth house of work, health, services, labor, sickness, illness, pets? What have you been trying to work within? What sort of parameters around you that are useful as a Capricorn rising? That sixth house, your ruling planet Saturn is squaring that sixth house. And that third house, where all this concentration is in Pisces, squares the sixth house from the third house. So that's that tension of being all involved on the day to day and how it's having a knock on effect. How is your body responding in kind? Is it healthy? Does it feel wealthy? Or does it feel bogged down with minutiae details and too much mental stresses going on the day to day for you to function in community with what you want to do, what you're trying to create through communication, technology, teaching and learning? Is and to that extent of the extended family. What's the tension there, if any at all, and how is it actually impacting the mind? Or is there a conflict with what you'd want to do with work, health, and services? What services do you want to provide, Capricorn rising? But how does it grade up against what you're doing on the day to day in that third house? So it can be quite a difficult transit for Capricorn risings, absolutely. But Jupiter is going direct, so there will be more of a streamline with policies and procedures and knowing the terrain and what you can really build on. So it's quite a almost mature transit, if you will, with understanding, the bigger picture versus the smaller. So you might be trying to balance out your big lofty ideals about services, work, health, services, services, work, health, labor, sickness, pets, and how you can be more realistic about not overstretching yourself too much. And that's Mercury. Like, you've got to know the details. You've got to know the terrain before you throw it all in the ring. And I find that quite helpful, especially when Mercury comes into Pisces mid-month and will start squaring off with that sixth house. The logic will really start to take precedence when it comes to your sixth house topics, and that's only helpful. Mars is opening up. It does go direct this month, but it is in retrograde, opening up February, transiting in Cancer, your seventh house. And that seventh house is other people, relationships, partnerships, agreements and contracts, the house of endings and rest. And Mars, that is all about the action. I just wonder if you felt quite at ease, if you felt like you could rest, or do you feel like there's conflict or you need to re-strategize systems and how things work when it comes to relationships and agreements? Is there peace or is there disharmony? This Mars transit is kicking up some, for better words, harmony dust that may be as if it's all not as good and peaceful as we think when it comes to relationships and harmony with partnerships. And Mars can help clear the air. That's the positive side of Mars. Let's just get cut to the chase instead of skimming over and playing nice all the time. And that can be helpful for severing things like relationships or agreements that have gone on for too long or unaddressed. So there is a positive, as always, with the negative, with any planet. And once you have it out, if you will, with a relationship or a contract and discuss things that are difficult in Cancer, where Mars is in fall, which struggles to talk about the depths and the details about true feelings and emotions, that's difficult to bring it all up. Cancer is about security and nurturing and compassion, wants to feel safe, wants to feel protected. And then Mars comes in and makes everyone feel vulnerable, sensitive. Oh, you're pushing my buttons. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but it can be like a cathartic cleansing. So how are you coping with relationships and agreements with Mars retrograde? How have you been coping? Mars will help you develop more street smarts, more muscles on how to speak up for yourself, not bulldoze, but there's another point of view with a relationship. It's not all you. So there's things that can be sorted out, and once and for all as well. Mars can be very final. But once it's done, it's done. Mars will not be returning to this part of your chart of Cancer for quite some time. So if there's something that's been long in the tooth, that's been unaddressed, hopefully this transit's brought some stuff up for you that is uncomfortable, so you can finally get rid of it or finally end things that have been hard to detach from, like anchors that we don't need. So that's interesting as a transit. But yes, Mars will go direct. Venus is in exaltation in your third house of Pisces, opening up the month. But she shifts very quickly at the beginning. But again, she will retrograde back into this part of your chart. So this Pisces Venus exaltation experience that you've been having up until the 4th of this month is going to be a revisit. So think about the Venusian topics and themes in your life connected to the third house, which is relationship, harmony, unity, values, also luxury and indulgent. Very Venusian. But she's the great connector. She wants to unite and team up. Venus is very social. So she will be revisiting this part of your chart, that third house where your ruling planet is. In fact, Venus conjuncts your ruling planet Saturn 3 times. She's already conjunct once. She will conjunct in retrograde, or no, maybe. But she will conjunct you another 2 times as a Saturn rising sign of the zodiac. So Venus is still there in your third house, opening up the month, and Mercury is transiting in Aquarius, your second house, where Pluto is currently transiting, will be for 20 years. Your secret sister sign, Aquarius. So Mercury's been here and will continue in Aquarius, opening up the month. So Mercury in Aquarius, we'll think of Aquarius, which is your second house. It supports you, Capricorn rising. Mercury is your skill set. What skills do you have that benefit the larger group community, Aquarius? Where do you have to mentally detach from having a hive mind and doing something unique and entrepreneurial, Aquarius, where you run against the status quo and break new terrain? Where can you invent something for the greater whole? That's very individual. That's Mercury in Aquarius. You might be or have been thinking about such things. And in your second house of possessions, assets, and finances, things that support the body, have you been investing? Mercury, the planet of merchants, money, commerce, finance. Have you been trying to invest in new ways of loving up the body that you feel strong, whether it's through research or learning or developing a new skill? Big possibilities with Mercury and Aquarius, but money's on your mind. Mercury, the mind in the house of money. Money's been on your mind, Capricorn rising for sure, with Mercury in your second house. But Mercury is on the move again this month as well. And the key protagonist for the month of February, in short, what is the planet that's really stirring things up there, that's really active? Well, it's Mercury this month. So if you can, at the very least, understand when you were dealing with a lot of people, which I think a Capricorn risings are, with the activity in the third and the sixth house, everyone is a little extra and having these mercurial planetary alignments with planets. And that means there's a lot more communication, a lot more activity. So through the lens of one human being to another Capricorn rising, I strongly suggest you give yourself plenty of time for alone time to detach from technology, from the noise, so you are not blown around and overwhelmed with too much intel. So that would be helpful for you to really adopt a big self-care attitude with the month of February. We have the sun opening up the month, still transiting in Aquarius, that second house. And the sun is in detriment in the second house. The sun rules Leo, which is your 8th house of other people's resources, shared finances, debt, tax, inheritance. It's the house where monies support us in some way, shape, or form through investments or stocks, a partnership. And that's the 8th house. And the sun rules that 8th house, and that's Leo. And it's going to be a full moon this month in Leo in your 8th house. And the sun is transiting in the second house of Aquarius, with Pluto and Mercury opening up the month. And so when you have a sun that rules your house of big money, bigger money, money that supports you through other avenues, transiting in Aquarius in the second house where it doesn't like transiting, where it feels uncomfortable, it's far from its natural home of Leo, there could be some tense conversations about finances, shared resources, what's yours, what's others, and keeping an optimistic viewpoint about your financial standing, especially with Mercury there. I'm sure with this money on your mind and what you've got and what you can bring to the table, how you can innovate, how you can be inject more energy and life to this second house, I'm sure has been difficult to process. Aquarius is an air sign. It's a fixed air sign. So breaking fixed energy and dogmatic ways of thinking about your finances and the brain and the mind, and how that stops or inhibits growth in that second house. That will be a personal thing and process that you will be going through as a Capricorn rising. So yes, the sun is transiting there, opening up the month of February. So now we're going to get into the transits. I've done it in a chronological order. Keeping in mind, quickly recapping, your main focus is on the third house. So lots of toing and froing back and forward with Pisces third house topics and subjects. From the 1st to the 2nd, Venus in Pisces is conjuncting Neptune, whilst the sun in Aquarius trines Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. So the first 2 days of the month is a reverberation of the last 2 days of January. This alignment was active and it still is for the first 2 days of February. Venus in Pisces conjunct Neptune. This is losing yourself in Venusian ways through relationships, uniting, socializing. So in your third house, you could be losing yourself in an environment, and that could be a day of absolute bliss where you just hang with a cool group of people and have this massive social event. With Venus conjunct Neptune, there's always the possibility of not having firm boundaries whilst you're integrating. So watch for losing yourself, but be mindful that you have to keep some sort of you when you're interacting with other people. So easy does it. The Sun in Aquarius trining Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. So this is your second house and sixth house in a trine. So the Sun trine Jupiter is always foreboding of something quite easy to come together. So it might be easy to get shared resources or financial support from other people. That gives you a leg up with services, labor, work, maybe even transforming your physical body, like getting on top of a health ailment, if any at all. You may have some financial support to have a medical procedure or start yoga classes or see a herbal practitioner. You get the picture, but it's easy to connect the dots. And other people's resources and finances in some way, shape, or form are helping things that are almost routine on the day-to-day, that sixth house. So in short, the first to the second of the month, these days look pretty good. Yeah, I don't really need to expand on that. Enjoy it. Just don't get swept up in losing yourself. Neptune with Venus in the third house. Don't get into any arguments either. Easy to get sucked down a rabbit hole, especially about spirituality or religion, your thoughts about the bigger things in life can be tricky. Moving on to the fourth, Venus leaves Pisces, your third house, and ingresses into Aries, your fourth house. Venus is in detriment in Aries. We're going to talk about this transit. And the same day on the 4th, Jupiter stations to go direct in Gemini. Great news. We talked about that. So let's just talk about the Venus ingressing into Aries transit. So Venus will be in Aries for the rest of February, moving into March. Venus in Aries in your fourth house. Woof. Yeah, it's not going to be dull. Not that I think things have been dull for you, Capricorn rising, either, with all that focus, concentration on that third house. But when Venus, the planet of unifying, harmony, and relationship, steps into your fourth house of family, your roots, your heritage, your lineage, real estate, home, and property, the fourth house, the very subterranean part of your chart, it's very private. And this fourth house is where we get our foundations. It's where our foundations are set so we feel secured to move out into the world, and we've got a retreat. We've got a sanctuary to come back to, and it's always got its arms open for us, and it's not going anywhere. This is where we want to be. So as a Capricorn rising with Venus in Aries, a Mars-ruled zodiac sign, this is where you get the detriment archetypal characteristics of Venus, because Venus in Aries, a Mars sign, doesn't operate well in Mars because Mars is quick to take action, wants to move, is quite bold, and just wants to keep on going, and at times can be quite headstrong. So maybe for Capricorn risings, this has been a theme in your life. Your family dynamics, have people just cut out and taken off, or have you just exit stage left a home abruptly, or had family just really fall to pieces abruptly. That's a possibility, because Aries is your fourth house ruled by Mars, very quick and acute zodiac planet. So when Venus steps into your fourth house, you think of the harmony that can now be imparted on the fourth house topics. This is good. She's in detriment though. So what does this mean? Well, she's going to have to try a little harder to find the goodness in the fourth house topics. So you may have to dig a bit deeper, Capricorn rising, to find the magic, if you will, when it comes to harmony, unity, relationship, and pleasures in the fourth house. So you might feel like where you live on the day-to-day could be a little bit, I want to move. I'm not real sure if I like the color scheme anymore. Maybe I can downsize to get more money. Maybe maybe we need to look at, the long-term future of where I'm living. Like, is this big house necessary? Can I downsize? Can I reduce the costs of my living? That creates more harmony and space for me to do other things. I've got more resources to do other things. How's my family going? Am I connected or am I disconnected? Why am I disconnected, if at all? And so this is what you could be ruminating about with this transit with Venus in the fourth house. Ultimately, she is about unity, uniting in harmony and relationship. But it's a difficult transit for her. She's trying harder to do her very best to keep up a certain pace, Mars. And that can be draining for Venus, like this constant go, go, go. But Mars, the ruling planet of Aries, is in retrograde, opening up the month. We'll go direct on the 24th, and we'll get to that. So until then, Mars is retrograde, so it might be hard to get it going, like get the fun going, or maybe you're waiting on a property settlement or a family dispute to finally come to an end, or finally make a decision about your actual dwelling. Well, Mars will go direct and things will start to open up a little bit. But for now, you're trying to find the good in the not so good when it comes to your foundations of life. So try not to get too melancholy about this. Jupiter's direct in Gemini, is sixth house. It's at 11 degrees for all the astro nerds that work with degrees that like to know that. We talked about how it's positive, the more structure, things get more optimistic in the sixth house on the day-to-day, so that's quite good. With Jupiter now direct in Gemini, Jupiter will be zooming through the zodiac now and will be ingressing into Cancer come June 2025. From the 6th to the 12th, your ruling planet Saturn trines Mars retrograde. So you've got 6 days, if you will. This is a great window of time if you are a planner. Capricorn rising, I think maybe you'd be good at planning and knowing the terrain, knowing the logistics. So when the two malefics agree, Saturn, your ruling planet, is a malefic through Hellenistic teachings, as is Mars. And when your ruling planet has a conversation with Mars about, what's working and what's not, this is the best 6 days of the month to get to the absolute core of a problem when it comes to relationships, agreements, and contracts with your third house of communication, short distance travel, siblings, cousins, commuting, education, teaching, your local environment. It's easier to hit things on the head. It's great for opportunities with contracts in your local environment, a communication gig, an educational gig. Great. Also great for purchasing a car or technology. Great 6 days. Good time to plan to get to the nuts and bolts of the situation and have the tougher conversations to clear the proverbial air. So you could be finally separating and severing from a long-term relationship or contract or agreement as well. And that gives you a sense of freedom. But again, knowing your own natal planets in your chart will be helpful to give you a more holistic understanding of what could be happening for you from the 6th to the 12th, when your ruling planet Saturn trines Mars retrograde in Cancer, your 7th house. Moving on from the 10th to the 12th, Mercury and the Sun conjunct in your 2nd house of Aquarius, while squaring Uranus in Taurus in your 5th house. So this is a good day for making your mind up. So you might get some financial support. You could have a money dispute come to resolution. So if you've been waiting on an answer, oh yes, we're going to give you the mortgage or the loan, or the inheritance, here comes your inheritance, or here comes a resource you've been waiting for some time, steps in on between the 10th and the 12th, whilst your ruling planet Saturn is trining Mars from the 6th to the 12th. This is going on as well. So this is like wheeling and dealing and having the logistics and the monetary conversations on these days from the 10th to the 12th about your financial future. And squaring off with Uranus, this is good for trying not to stay put and let your sense of joy and pleasure be dumbed down. So if you're taking on something that's a little bit bigger or scarier, when it comes to expanding with your plans, be it whatever, with your skill set, with your money, possessions or assets, try not to get too bogged down by the fear. Uranus is about liberation and freedom, getting out of the same old. So when Mercury and the Sun conjunct and you like, here's the support, this is the realities of it. Mercury, here's the logistics, let's have the conversations. And it's squaring Uranus. Uranus is urging you to go, because it's going to give you a lot more joy and pleasure than you may be anticipating. So try not to drop into fear from the 10th to the 12th. On the 13th, we've got a full moon in Leo in your 8th house, and that's at 24 degrees. And so when the moon is lighting up that 8th house of other people's resources, shared resources, tax, debt, inheritance, reflecting the Sun in the 2nd house of Aquarius, where we've just had all that activity with Mercury Sun conjunction, square Uranus, the wheeling and the dealing and the conversations and the paperwork, it all just, you're all in or you're all out. And it could be quite an exciting financial day for you on the 13th of February. So enjoy that, Capricorn rising. Something's brewing, and it's certainly got a lot to do with in financial integration with other people, getting support from other people financially in some way, shape or form. Great. Moving on to the 14th, Valentine's Day. Wishing you all a happy Valentine's Day should you celebrate it. Mercury now leaves Aquarius and ingresses into Pisces, your 3rd house. So now your 3rd house is really getting super focused. Mercury will be here for the rest of February into March. And Mercury in Pisces transit, when it's in fall and in detriment, things get confusing. In short, Mercury is in Jupiter's zodiac sign. Jupiter is in Mercury's zodiac sign of Gemini. It's difficult because, again, we're talking about the juxtaposition between two archetypal planets. Mercury's finer details, likes to be very logical. Jupiter's optimistic and abundant and about expansion. And Mercury goes, yeah, but how and why? And could be that Debbie Downer. So when Mercury's transiting in this Pisces in your 3rd house, where your ruling planet is, Neptune is, North Node is, you're going to be experiencing a lot of mental, emotional, draining moments. And that's when you can start to get creative in the 3rd house topics and subjects. Okay, things aren't ideal when it comes to my environment or my plans, when it comes to short distance travel or communication, education, teaching, but I can work within these parameters. All is not lost. With Jupiter in Gemini, Mercury sign, and Mercury in Gemini, Jupiter sign, we have what's called mutual reception, but they're squaring one another from the 3rd house to the 6th house. So your services, work and health and illness and pets, squaring off with the house of the day-to-day. Both 6th house and 3rd house are the day-to-day grind. They're familiar to us. This is what we do. But it's a mutual square. In other words, both planets archetypally understand that they are in zodiac signs where they're unresourced, but there is the help's there with the square. We can work within these parameters. So you can get creative in Pisces. This is great for imagining, like being a poet. You can take the ideas out of the head and put it on paper with speech. You can get creative with speech in the community or with teaching and learning, etc., etc. So all is not lost with Mercury transiting in your 3rd house. It just may be at sometimes draining to keep that energy up. But stay tuned, Capricorn rising. There's help coming because the sun's about to step in. On the 18th, the sun steps in. So the sun will transit through Pisces, your 3rd house, for 4 weeks. So if you're a planner, a header, and you work with dates through the planetary cycles of astrology, which I'm assuming you do if you're listening to this content, from the 18th of March, February to the 18th of March, that's your 4-week window of let's see things for how they are, how things are going. Let's get the optimistic parts and let's look at the parts that aren't so ideal and get them just so. So I like the fact that the sun's going into Pisces. We're talking about, igniting the intangible and the optimism and the life and energy force that the sun provides can inject that muse that you may have lost when it comes to communication with Mercury. And the sun will help and go, hey, maybe look at this and maybe do something different here. So the sun in your 3rd house is great for powering through the unpowerable through, if you will. And you can have an uptick in energy with things in your community, education, teaching, siblings, cousins. You could be on the move more as well. Sun in the 3rd house. You could be short distance traveling, like a lot of movement going on. The 3rd house is so active. But if you need that injection of optimism and you're waiting for the muse and the poet to come back online when the sun ingresses from the 18th of February to the 18th of March, that's your window if you're a planner. Moving on to the 20th, Mercury squares Jupiter. Again, we know this is a mutual reception. We know about the planets being in each other's zodiac signs. They're helpful. But the 20th is the day where it can really feel like you're hemmed in and not too sure about communication and how it's assisting or harming your day-to-day activities with your body, your health and services, and what you do in regards to your day-to-day environment interactions. So this can feel like, I'm not too sure. Am I saying the right thing? Is this the right move? Do I need to slow down? Is this helping my body? Is the services I'm providing, are they really what people want? Or are the services around me, are they really what I want? So it can be no one's pleased day. At the very least, with the mutual reception, you're getting some sort of appeasement, like a agreement. Not everyone's happy, but we all come out of it with something, even though it's not highly ideal. So it's that sort of day on the 20th. The 23rd, Mercury trines Mars retrograde in Cancer. So you can hear with the astrological alignments just how active Mercury is. It's incredible. And again, take that with you if you are planning ahead and you like listening to planets and transits for what's coming forward in the coming months. Knowing that Mercury is so active, that means everyone's going through it. Mercury is a personal planet, so it's close to everybody. It's very much attached to us. So everyone's going through a kerfuddling, muddling, creative muse. Where we are, we're in, we're out, we're up, we're down. Everyone's in it. And yes, that's where the confusion can come in. Absolutely. But Capricorn rising, you know this ahead of time, and you be able to observe, not like a snob, but just like, yeah, I know what's going on with the planetary alignments. I know what's going on with the planet in transit. I know what squares or oppositions and conjunctions they're making more than other people. So it's not like you go, oh, yeah, I know that. It gives you more of an edge to have compassion and not be so, for better words, impacted by the harshness or the events going on around you or that you're observing with other people. Everyone's going through it. So keep that in mind because it's Mercury. So on the 23rd, Mercury now trines Mars retrograde in Cancer in your 7th house of relationships, contracts and agreements. Earlier in the month, your ruling planet Saturn was trining Mars, and now it's Mercury's turn now that Mercury stepped into your 3rd house. So this is a conversation, no doubt about it, and it can be contractual or about how you're integrated with a relationship or trying to get out of a contract or a relationship. This is the day where you could have some really sobering conversations about such topics and subjects. You may also be trying to return to an environment to connect with some people, places and faces that you've had some distance with for some time as well on the 23rd. Great day to get in the car and go and hang with your cousin or your auntie that you've been meaning to visit for a long time. This is the day to do it on the 23rd. The 24th, the next day, Mars goes direct. Okay, so Mars is not leaving that 7th house for some time in Cancer, where we know Mars is in full, and relationships and agreements have been, no doubt, quite volatile and difficult to deal with at times. But now that Mars is at least going direct, you're almost armed with an emotional intelligence. You've learned to work within your means when it comes to these topics and subjects. So how are you going to execute moving forward? What works for you or what doesn't? And what adjustments are necessary to create an ongoing harmony with a relationship, contract, agreement, or how you can harmoniously detach from such agreements and contracts. You've got that emotional intelligence now. You know what's what. You've worked it out, no doubt. But it's going to take some time for Mars to build up speed. And so you're not out of the waters yet in regards to finally sealing a deal or cementing a relationship or getting out of one or a contract. But at the very least, you know the terrain, and emotionally, does it serve you, this relationship contract, or it doesn't? You'll know. But you'll slowly be able to move forward with a lot more confidence on the 24th with Mars direct in Cancer. Moving on to the 25th, Mercury conjuncts your ruling planet Saturn, and the same day we have Venus sextiling Jupiter. So the two benefics are agreeing on this day, the 25th. So let's talk about this one. Well, when Mercury conjuncts your ruling planet, it's like there's information communication coming towards you, and it like hits you, it conjuncts you. It's like in your face, you can't not see it. That's a conjunction. And so you can see clearly mercurial themes and topics in the 3rd house. So that is money, paperwork, communication, ideas and thoughts, all connected to the 3rd house. You see clearly. You can see clearly. So are you in or are you out? And with Venus in Aries sextiling Jupiter, with the two benefics agreeing from your 4th house to your 6th house, this could be a great contract or a monetary opportunity in your environment that gets you into a better home or changing up things within the topics of real estate and property. Great day to find a contractor to do some work in your home regarding excavation, putting on an extension to the house. Maybe you find a great real estate agent and they help boost up your value of your home. It's just a great day on the 25th. and there's a benefit. So whether you're in or you're out regarding the third house and your environment, there's a benefit happening at the same time that's helping your home, family, work, health, and services all connect at once. This is like finding a dream real estate agent to me this day for you, or finally landing a lucrative contact that boosts your home and your day-to-day routines. That's what it looks like for me. Moving on, the last day of the month, we've got a new moon in Pisces in your third house. Yeah, stellium. I'm sure I've rammed home that point enough for you where your focus is. So when you have a new moon in Pisces, and this is your third house, and it's at 9 degrees, it always heralds a new beginning. So there's something new in your environment growing, because it's a new moon phase. It's quiet, it's dark, and the energy is going to build and build and build and be released, and you'll see something, some sort of result come the full moon next month in March. New moon in Pisces, let's talk about that. This is compassionate. It's sacrificing, self-sacrificing. It's for the larger group. It's spiritual. It's about everybody. It's loving. It's open. It's the third house. So there's this new beginning in your environment, and you're all engaged, and it's like you're really emotionally connected to something, whether it be a teaching or learning program, committing to traveling more, communicating more, getting out in your local environment more, maybe moving to a new environment. New beginnings with siblings, cousins, aunts, and uncles as well could be possible with a new moon in Pisces. But it is a beautiful, quiet one. And come the end of the month of February, I think we all can do with a quiet day. So this would be the perfect day, Capricorn rising, to take a self-care day. Maybe take yourself on a day trip. Just do something nice for yourself in a day spa. This is the moon to do it with the new moon in Pisces. But it is the new moon phase, so something's growing and building an energy in that third house. And that Mercury-Saturn conjunct might be the key in what's growing and building for you moving forward, Capricorn rising. How do we tie this all up for you, your month? Well, I would probably, again, coming from a human practical lens, not astrological lens, I would learn to adopt the I work to live, I not live to work metaphor. Balance is key, will be important. Knowing when to turn everything off and switch off, and that includes from the monkey mind, the thoughts that are constantly churning about what you want to accomplish, and just rest and take some time out. Because there's so much activity going on and so much focus on your third house and your sixth house. And these are busy houses. We can overlook the small mundane things like self-care, like having a massage, eating good nutritious food, being on top of where do I rest at night? Is it comfortable? Does it make me feel restful? Or with Venus and Aries in your fourth house, is this the good time to clear the home and make it do some feng shui? Smudge your house, get some crystals, get some plants, repot your plants if you've neglected your plants. Loving on the home more. So when you rest at night, when you go to bed every night, it's comfortable. And even though we know it's going to be harder for you to find that comfort zone because Venus is in detriment, you can still do it. Maybe it is because of finances that you can't do everything you want when it comes to growing and expanding. You may have to lean on others for support, but that's life. And sometimes that's difficult to depend on others, but we all have some sort of relationship in our lives. But the most important one is with ourselves. I think that's why a lot of people get into astrology. Know thyself. That's that metaphor. But it is a dynamic month. I don't think everyone's going to get a lot of rest. And you know that Mercury is really active. So you also are armed with astrological archetypal information that people are going to be quite flighty. Mercury transiting in Pisces can be. Ugh. All right. Well, I trust you got some value out of this video, Capricorn Rising. It was longer than I anticipated, but the Capricorn Risings and Aquarius Risings have a lot more going on. So your astrological videos are going to be a little bit longer than most this month, which has obviously come to pass. All right. Well, I'll leave it there. I trust you have yourself a fabulous month. And if you have any questions or you're interested in my astrological services, contact me at my email, which is cosmicgirl101@protonmail.com. And if you want to support my work, you can go to my homepage and you can find out how to support your cosmic girl, which is very much appreciated. All right, Capricorn Rising, till next time, stay cosmic.